Reckoning? No reckoning?
Things in place.
Well, look at you.
Enough.
Does he have life gain? Okay. So, he found a way out for now. Hey everyone, Raptor Spank here, and today we have On the Grind, the show where I cover a deck I'm playing in Ranked. I'll break down the deck, go over some flex spots, talk about some basic mulligans, and then we'll put it through some ranked matches and review how we do afterwards. Just a top of the episode thing I want to say, I'm not going to be doing an episode next week, just taking a week off and then I'll be back at it again. But this week we're covering a deck that, technically speaking, I haven't covered on the Grind before, but I did do a very brief kind of just deck guide, no gameplay for this way back in Season 5, I believe it was, and it's pretty much the same deck list, but some very small changes. This deck's pretty familiar to people who've been playing Ranked recently, I would say, and it is Spider Aggro, or as I called it last time, Fearsome Burn. This is... I mean, it's basically the same deck. This feels a little more spider-oriented now, although, again, the deck is pretty much the same, so it really hasn't changed that much. But the basic concept of the deck, really good fearsome threats that happen to be spiders, and Elise that synergizes really well with it. She's just a very well-costed fearsome threat on her own, but with the huge spider package we've got with it, just gets even better. So the concept's really simple. Run your opponent down as fast as possible and do as much damage as you can. Part of the reason it's coming back is because of the fact that other aggro decks have been pushed out a little bit, but also a recent buff does actually affect the deck very, very slightly, but it is a part of why we're seeing it again now. So, first off, champion package, real simple. 3 copies of Elise, that's it. As I mentioned, really good fearsome threat for a cost just in general. A 2/3 is really solid because it's very hard to remove. There's not a lot of things that are going to be able to kill it on turn 2, so you're often going to get that free first attack. There are some things that can trade with it, but since it gives you 2 bodies for the cost of 1, that can be fine. If you run it into even something like a mountain goat, at least you've got that spiderling as well, so you're probably getting some value out of her. And if you can ever level her up, she is going to take over the game in this build, because we do have a ton of spiders, and some of them aren't fearsome in the case of House Spider. But just in general, being able to force blocks how we want can do a ton of damage to our opponent and just really blow them out. And so it just really does great things for us. And too, those spiderlings, if we can get her leveled up and then land something like a skitterer that's going to buff them all and make it harder for your opponent to block while everything has fearsome, that can just provide a one-turn combo kill for opponent. And it is actually surprising how often you will be able to level up Elise in this matchup. And her champion spell also helps with that, because you're going to lose units because your opponent is going to block, because you're going to be capable of doing a lot of damage. And that can let you create more spiderlings off of Elise's champion spell to really just turbo level her up. So it's not something you're going to cast often, because even just having the extra Elise in hand can be really, really good. But if you can do this to just level her up guaranteed, it's well worth doing. So that's a surprise spell that people aren't really prepared for when playing against this deck, because they don't really think of it, and it can definitely surprise them out of nowhere to get you that fast level Elise and just take over the game. So keep that in mind. Now, as for the follower package, which makes up the bulk of the deck, we'll start off right off the bat with that card I mentioned that's been buffed, that has changed the deck list. 3 copies of Legion Rearguard. He's back, baby. And really, he should be back. I don't think he's a particularly broken card. I think the revert was actually good for him, but having that extra 1 health is very critical, and he does come down very early on that turn 1, and he's very cheap. So he can't really be chump blocked or traded with well, because of the fact that he does have 2 health, so things that deal 1 damage aren't going to kill him, and he's going to kill pretty much anything that blocks him. And the one advantage he has over a card that had this spot previously with Grenadier is that he only costs 1 mana. So you can drop like one of these turn 1 and then 2 more on turn 2. And if you swing that turn, that's a massive 12 damage you're threatening. So that one less mana can be pretty big, especially since we have a number of Nightfall cards that can really benefit from that as well. So definitely earns its spot back in the deck now that his health is buffed and he's harder to kill anyways than he was after the nerf. So 3 copies of that. We also have 3 copies of Legion Saboteur. Obviously, it's the Noxus staple for aggro decks. Still good here. It's not a spider, but who cares? It deals 1 damage on its attack trigger, and it deals a decent amount of damage itself if our opponent can't block. It is very easy to kill Saboteur, but again, it's one of the best pound-for-pound aggro cards in Noxus, so it just makes sense to include 3 of that. And then the obvious other 1-drop inclusion, 3 copies of Precious Pet. It's a spider, it's fearsome, very hard to block. Yes, it's easy to kill, but it's pretty much always going to deal damage on turn 1 because it's pretty rare for your opponent to have something that can block this on that very first turn. And it's a spider, so it helps towards leveling our Elise, and it benefits from Frenzied Skitterer, just all sorts of great things. Very low downsides to this card in the deck, so obviously have 3 copies of that. And then even more 1-drops in the deck, 3 copies of Stygian Onlooker. This card can be pretty nuts. If you're playing it without Nightfall, it's pretty weak, but we can very easily trigger Nightfall on this and get some pretty crazy turns. Like, say, even if you're attacking on turn 4, you slam that Skitterer to buff all your spiders, and then you play Onlooker with that last mana, and you got another great fearsome threat as well. So it's just all sorts of just good kind of aggro value. If you can get that 1 fearsome swing with it, it's going to be brutal. It deals a ton of damage. Your opponent's even likely to block it too, so over other fearsome threats. So just all sorts of good value you can get out of this. Then going further into our Spider and Fearsome package, we've got 3 copies of Arachnoid Horror, one of the best pound-for-pound Fearsome units since it's a 3-2 with Fearsome for only 2 mana. So one of our key components to just running our opponent down. It doesn't die easily thanks to that 2 health, so that's really, really solid. And it is a spider, so it benefits from all our spider synergies like Elise and the Frenzied Skitterer. So lots of great value there. Great card. Awesome turn 2. The only thing that's pretty much better on turn 2 than that is Elise. So really, really solid. Then we've got 3 copies of House Spider, great for leveling up Elise. It's 2 spiders for the cost of 1, and it's also just great value in general. One of them's a 2-2, so it's very hard to remove it. It's just all sorts of great into other aggro decks because it gives you a number of blockers, and if you can level Elise, this is really good for taking over the game because they'll gain Fearsome, but also just in general, they'll be able to pull your opponent's blockers to just kind of set things up perfectly for you and the rest of your spiders to make it through, so that's really strong. Then from there, we have 2 copies of Imperial Demolitionist. This card's actually a lot better in the deck now when we can have that turn 1 Rearguard. This was kind of the great combo from before, is to slam that turn 1 Rearguard, swing for 3 damage. And since it has 2 health, you can slam a Demolitionist, ping it, it's still alive. You do 2 damage to your opponent's Nexus. Lots of great things. So really, really solid, especially now that Rearguard's back in the list and back the way it was. Then from there, we have 2 copies of Arachnoid Sentry. This isn't necessarily an all-star in the deck, but it can do some surprisingly great things for us by tapping down a blocker, or just making sure that our opponent's tempo is thrown off, while also just being a solid body on its own. It's a 3-2, and if we can level Elise, it'll have Fearsome, and then be as good as an Arachnoid Horror as well, so really good in the deck. I've particularly enjoyed using it on turn 3 to stop LeBlancs from attacking. That's pretty sweet, also good for using on an Ezreal for similar reasons. And just in general, it's a good value spider, so why not run a couple copies of it? Then we have 3 copies of Doombeast. Great piece of burn right there. If we can trigger that Nightfall, it's going to drain our opponent, so that breaks the symmetry against other aggro decks. And also, it's going to slowly burn our opponent out by dealing that damage as well. So just all sorts of great, really good with a number of other cards in the deck where it's going to pretty much always be used on a Doombeast, or for Doombeast, if available. So really, really good card. We'll talk about that when we get into the spell package. And finally, rounding out our follower package with the high mana cost of 3. Frenzied Skitterer, 3 copies of it. Absolute bomb in this deck. If you can level up an Elise and give Fearsome to all your spiders, it's going to be like a 1-turn combo kill. It's great on the defensive for shrinking your opponent's stuff. And then just, we have so many spiders, boosting them all is great. But lowering the power of our opponent to make them less likely to block our Fearsome, also really solid. So just does so many things, whether we're playing it to attack, playing it to block, doesn't matter. It's really, really good in the deck, and can also be really good off of some other spells as well. So talking about those spells, we have a 1 of Fading Memories. Now this can be used with a lot of things, but you're pretty much going to use it mostly on either copying a Doom Beast and then playing it to drain your opponent out, or you can copy a Frenzied Skitterer just to get that better wombo combo kill if your opponent's going to be unable to block a bunch of spiders, so that's something to consider as well. And then also you can use it with something like a Saboteur or a Demolitionist just to get a little more burn in, and technically you can use it on any of our other units as well. If you've got like a powerful Fearsome and your opponent's not set to block it, you can get that extra attack in, but again, most times I'm using this on a Doom Beast because of how much value we can get off of that. Similar concept, 3 copies of Stalking Shadows, great way to keep our hand full, keep drawing cards and getting extra copies of them. Now that's going to be really, really good with a Doom Beast because it triggers Nightfall for that Doom Beast, so now it's going to drain your opponent, which is really, really solid. But also it can be great with a Frenzied Skitterer to get you even more copies of it, or even more Demolitionists burn. It's the same concept as Fading Memories, only one of the copies in your hand is going to be permanent, which is just great. Then up from there, we've got 2 copies of Noxian Fervor. Good burn spell, can use this for a lot of good things. Now, it will kill anything we use it on in our deck. Everything we have has 3 health or less. Even Elise, after leveling up, is at 3 health, so it'll kill whatever we use it on. But that doesn't necessarily matter if your opponent's blocking it. You can always sack it to deal damage straight to their Nexus. Or if they're going to use some sort of life gain on it, whether it's a unit with lifesteal or if it's like a Grasp of the Undying, you can always fling that unit at them in response. They don't gain the life, you deal damage to the Nexus, all sorts of great things. So it can be really, really good, but we do only have the 2 copies. And finally, last card in the deck, 3 copies of Decimate. It's kind of the penultimate burn spell, so this is just here to really close out that late game, blast through our opponent's last few points of health, hopefully, and just really make sure that they're absolutely dead. Now, looking at flex spots, there's a number of things we can do. So one big difference from this and the deck last time I covered it with Flash of Brilliance was that instead of Legion Rearguard, I ran Legion Grenadier. It was better then because Rearguard was just terrible. So you ran the Grenadier instead, but right now I prefer the Rearguard because it has the same stat line and costs 1 less mana. And I find that 1 less mana cost is worth a little bit more than that dealing 1 damage when it dies. So Grenadier does guarantee that point of damage because even if they can block it and kill it, it's still going to burn their or ping their Nexus. So that was really solid. But Rearguard's 1 less mana to me is worth more than that value. So that's the big reason to change, but you could consider that as well. And also something a little bit weirder, but you can go heavier on the Fearsome end by going down some Noxus units and going up some Shadow Isle units, and essentially go 3 copies of Mist Wraith and 3 copies of Wraithcaller. By going down the Noxus stuff, you'll be more likely to hit the Wraithcaller and get more Mist Wraiths, and by having other Mist Wraiths in the deck, it's possible to get them buffed up really, really big. So that's something you can go. Again, you're going to want to drop Noxus things for that, though. Like, Rearguard definitely drops. You'll probably look to drop maybe the Sentry as well, and then maybe either a Noxus spell or go down something else like House Spider or Precious Pet. You're going to have less Spider synergy, but you're going to have better Fearsome synergy and just this really great, powerful Mist Wraith package. And then as for some spells you can go, last time I covered this deck, I ran some number of Unspeakable Horrors, so you could drop things like Fading Memory for that, maybe drop the Arachnoid Sentries for Unspeakable Horror. Just gives you more burn because you can point at Nexus, and it'll also keep your hand full, so that's pretty good too. By just triggering the Nightfall, you get another unit in hand, can be great for finding extra Doom Beasts as well. And just other random good Nightfall units, like say the Elusive one, that you can give Elusive to something else and just hit that last point of damage through. So that can be pretty good, but I generally have found it's a little bit better to just focus on the real aggro package and lots of units running your opponent down. So personally, I'm not running it, but it's definitely something worth considering. Similar, this is a little weird to include, but you can include a copy of Atrocity to just kind of blast your opponent out of nowhere. Generally speaking, not necessarily a great include because we don't have a lot of high-powered units, but it can make the difference in killing your opponent, so a 1 of or 2 of might not necessarily be a bad idea, although you're usually going to be better off just going with like an extra copy of Noxian Fervor or something like that. And then finally, Brood Awakening, kind of a weird one, but a really great spell to throw into the deck because it does buff all of your spiders. So even if you're not getting many spiderlings out of there, or the spiderlings aren't going to be worth that much, it's going to make all of your spiders better, so all of your fearsome spiders are going to get better, and it's a really good combo with Elise, because A, if you can cast it, it's going to level up Elise instantly, even if you have no other spiders. As long as your opponent can't kill any of them, it's going to do great stuff like that, and then just in general, if you can flip her, getting a lot more spiders that are going to have fearsome really, really strong, and can always be used as challengers too, to make sure that your blocks are in your favor. So just a really good powerhouse card. I tend to not run it because they are very easy to kill at that 1 health, so it's a bit hard to make that combo really pay off, especially at 6 mana, but it's definitely something to consider. As for the mulligans, very simple. Try to kill your opponent as fast as possible, so look for the best curve out you can have. Don't keep any decimates in your opening hand. Usually you're not going to keep a Noxian Fervor unless you're seeing Fiora, or you expect some really big lifesteal unit that you're going to want to fog that one single turn on. You're also not usually going to keep Fading Memories in your opening hand. I generally don't keep Stalking Shadows either. I'm mostly just looking to have a heavy follower curve out, but you can definitely keep especially Stalking Shadows if you think there's going to be a good use for it. But otherwise, you want to be playing something on turn 1, something on turn 2. You can definitely keep all 1-drops if you're expecting to have that just crazy, especially turn 2 attack. That's going to be really, really great. But just to slam as many units as you can, swing into them. Against other aggro decks, life gain is going to be fairly solid, as well as fearsome. House Spider is going to be good too for giving you multiple blockers. But Doom Beast will really do a lot of work here by draining them and keeping your own health high and their health low. Really good for making sure that you are the fastest one playing right there. So really good. Against mid-range decks, try to run them down as fast as possible. Fearsome can be good, especially if you can combine it with a Skitterer to shrink their units, so they're unlikely to block. Just in general, you want to make sure that you're killing your opponent as fast as possible, because their mid to late game is going to be substantially better than yours. So look for just kind of getting as much damage in as early as possible, and then try to close the game out with something like Fervor or Decimate. Decimate's especially good against mid-range, because against particularly Demacia-based mid-range, they're not really going to be able to do anything about a Decimate, whereas they can kill your unit in response to Fervor. Doom Beast is also great for closing out the game in a similar manner as well. So those are the things to look for in mid-range, just to make sure that you can get those final points of damage through. And against control, really just gas pedal them as fast as you can. Durable units will be great if you're playing against Shadow Isles control. Stuff with 2 health is going to be at a premium. 2 health or more, I should say, because Elise is obviously going to be really good there too. And then again, look for those decimates to just close out the game. You're not going to want to keep them in your opener, because you'd rather just top deck them and kill your opponent with that. But if you really have a strong turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, you can keep 1 copy of Decimate just to make sure you've got it. But generally speaking, just try to run them down with as many followers as early as possible and just get tons of damage in and hope that you can kill them long before they could ever hope to stabilize. And that's the deck for this episode. So if you're interested, there's a deck code and a deck link in the description below, and let's jump into Ranked and see how we do. Huh. Interesting. Frozen Ezreal running Sejuani, so it's got the lock. We're going to want to go quick. I'm actually going to pitch these Doom Beasts. Even though they curve nicely, we don't have a way to actually trigger them, and so they're actually kind of better top decks at this point. This is a great turn 1. That's a great turn 2. Ooh. Yeah, this is a really good start.
No one's the wiser.
I think Elise here is our best choice, because worst case scenario, he thermos to kill this Elise. Yeah, or he does that, and then we still get to attack and deal damage, because now he can't block. Do I swing with Saboteur? I think I do, because that's still the most possible damage. Like, he can block and kill this without losing Ballistic Bot, but then he still takes 4 damage, which is really, really good. And now his Ballistic Bot dies to anything else it blocks in the future. Okay, now we don't really want to play this turn, because obviously we don't get to swing with... Oh, okay, well. Alright. Yep. Does he have the Thermo? If he doesn't do anything here, we actually just accept the pass and just lose out on the tempo because she levels up. Okay. Well, does he have another kill spell, or does this work?
If only those suitors were as lovely as
Oh, yes. Turbo leveled Elise.
is beneath the skin.
That is fantastic for us. Especially with all of these decimates to close out in the late game. And I do think this is the better play than playing this. Wow, he's gonna do all that just to protect Ballistic? That seems crazy. He could have killed this and taken less damage.
Flesh was weak, but look at me now.
So obviously we lose out on the possibility of playing this and doing more damage, quote unquote. But I think we're fine with that. Because there was more we could lose by not swinging with Elise. Like if he had a slow removal like Aftershock or Thermogenic, he could have killed Elise and that would have completely destroyed that turn for us. So it was better to get that swing with her while we still had Challenger on everything. Okay, I can do this plus Skitter. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, let's just decimate. We are putting him on a clock.
Who goes there?
Okay. I think we just pass, and then we Skitterer plus Stygian next turn, maybe? Or do we just Skitterer now? Maybe we do Skitterer now.
Evolve or die.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not likely to die to that. Okay. Think we just open swing here. Hold these over here. As long as one of our spiders connects, he's dead.
This would be a good winter.
Okay, he does have a... wait. That's still lethal. Huh? Does he have life gain? It's not over yet. He could have life gain. He can do burst speed life gain, I think, right? Or is he now out of that window? I think he's out of that window. I need to change my deck. It's still the Runeterra one. Alright. I think that's it. Absolutely steamrollered. That wasn't even close. Well, maybe we're seeing a little bit of why this deck is spiking right now. Because that was an absolute shellacking. Although, to be fair, my opponent was playing a fairly greedy variant that had a lot of units in it, and not a lot of good units. Like, Starlit Seer is just very, very greedy. So, low removal, low frostbite from the look of it. But, can't believe we had it perfect there, where Troll Chant let him take that 1 point of damage that mattered. On to the next. Okay, LeBlanc Sivir. I haven't seen Sivir in a long time, but this person obviously plays this a lot. Now, the deck's not known for being particularly good. I'll never keep an opening Decimate, FYI. Deck's not known for being particularly good, but it can definitely run us over. That's a lot of power. That is really good. That is insanely good, in fact. We will not block. We'll take the 4 damage. It's very possible for this to turn into a race against a deck like that. Oh, she just marks damage all the time? Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. That's not too bad, then. This is really good, because if he has turn 3 LeBlanc, I can stop that. Okay, well, this is better than Arachnoid Horror. I was going to play Horror this turn, but that is substantially better. What's he got? Hunt the weak. Your opponent discards the weakest follower from hand. Okay. I mean, it was going to be hard for us to cast all of those anyways. Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried, bud.
Spears ready.
Okay. Clear the unit out. Deal 3 damage. Now, the reason I opted for that that trade is we still get the 1 damage from Saboteur, and we're an aggro deck, so we don't really want to be saving our units. But that actually keeps our Spider alive, which can be surprisingly good for us. And there's the stun for turn 3 LeBlanc. Just because he Tom Kenched us on the... Just because he Tom Kenched us. Yeah, we'll play this, and then Frenzied Skitterer. Let's see what he plays. Okay. Well, that's a little unfortunate. Okay. So we could just swing with everything here. I mean, she's dead running anyways at this point, so swinging for her for max damage is worth more. I could keep her back so that I'm more likely to level her up, but since she has vulnerable, she's going to die. So the best thing I can do is get max damage here. He's a little bit crazy if he's gonna try to block to keep everything alive. That's a bit cocky. I was gonna keep Elise alive because he can kill her on the crackback. Okay, weird, very weird choice that he decided to keep Sandspinner alive. I mean, I guess because he can keep it alive and block some fairly high-powered things, but he's running out of health quick.
You've got a problem. I've got a problem.
So I can't stop her because she has Spell Shield, although I could strip the Spell Shield off. Maybe, you know what? Probably wasn't worth playing that this turn. On reflection, it probably was better to go Arachnoid Horror Doombeast. That was bad on my part. Because he can't swing with this. We can trade with one of our Spiderlings.
It's a living.
So even though it'd get him closer to leveling up Sivir, that's really not that great for him. So I think we just open swing here. I don't think we're particularly great off to let our opponent play things before we swing. That can go bad for us too easily. Okay, that has you dead. Yep, that has you live. Okay. If all he does is keep her alive, we're in great shape. Okay, that is much more problematic, because that levels her up and my opponent's not dead. Alright, well, we're in muddy waters. But my opponent's dead to a Decimate off the top. So that is what we have going for us. Now, she doesn't have Overwhelm yet.
Doesn't look like much.
And we do have plenty of chump blockers. And we're about to drain them down to 2. Problem now being that a Doom Beast off the top isn't lethal. Because we don't have anything to play yet. Okay, that's actually pretty sweet.
Wealth is merely a foolish distraction, my dear. Don't call me a rich.
I don't think we can take the full damage here.
Pride was my end.
Okay, that's unfortunate. Because we had a lethal open swing here. Potentially. Ooh, okay, he's gonna give us best chance. Although it's still going to be pretty hard for us to go for an open swing lethal, I guess. So maybe we are better off playing safe. Yeah, I think that's what we go for here. Oh, LeBlanc levels up. So we're going to have to find something very soon. A lot of things can kill our opponent here. Like Decimate off the top, Fervor off the top. Doom Beast will not. That could work. Doom Beast. Find a Doom Beast. That actually does kind of work. Potentially, that could work. Not a guarantee, though. He could have combat tricks.
I have my orders.
Reckoning? No reckoning?
Things in place.
Well, look at you.
Enough.
Does he have life gain? Okay. So, he found a way out for now.
Damn it.
But we're not dead yet. Actually, I should have swung with everything, right? That was a huge mistake. Okay. Can he find another right? He should be dead right now. We just played horribly there. Can he find another right?
Sand and trouble far as the eye can see.
Okay. That should be game. That should be game. Okay, so we almost lost the game because of foreplay. If I had swung with the whole board, they're dead, even with the right. So I didn't think that through. I was just thinking, a swing right now, must go, gotta go fast, aggro deck. But if I swung with the whole board, they're dead. So that was really poorly played on my part. But fortunately enough, we found another way. We found another Doom Beast off the top, essentially, and we're able to win. Actually, that was better than a Doom Beast off the top, because we could play it and then play the Doom Beast and get the effect, because it triggered Nightfall. So that was one of our best draws. Decimate would have worked as well, but really awesome. Glad that worked. We are super dead that turn if it didn't, because he was about to give Overwhelm to all of his units, and that would have been terrifying, but whew! Despite our mistakes, we still got there, and on to the next. Okay, Zoe Soul. So the goal here will be just to run him down, but probably gonna have the Fangs, and probably just in general lots of life gain. Ooh. So my thought was play nothing this turn and then Precious Pet Stygian next turn. But Precious Pet into Arachnoid Horror is probably the best curve I can go with here. And this music is a bop. The Shark is one of the best Guardians for that. Ooh.
One star's whoopsie is another spark.
He did that quick. That makes me think he has Serpent.
Paint your feelings.
Okay, maybe not. Okay, we'll play Horror, I guess. Actually, let's play Elise.
There's nothing to fear.
Elise is better than Horror in this situation. Still trades with Mountain Goat.
Fresh catch? Well, it was fresh.
Okay, well, the only thing he can block right now is the Spider, unless he can buff them.
Hold still.
What a weird combo that he's playing. Oblivious Islander. Interesting.
So young.
I'm not sure what to think of that. Well, best thing we can do next turn is Skitterer into Stygian.
They grow up so fast.
Okay. That's fine, you can trade that with the Horror.
Let's see what's out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the 2. That was his Celestial card, at least. We know that. Interesting. What did he pitch? Did he pitch that?
Paint my constellation.
Okay. Sure. Okay, so he found Charger. Man, it's a little unfortunate to not get to House Spider and then Frenzied Skitterer. Actually, hang on. That can level our Elise up right there. Well, if that's the case, is it worth it to just fling it? I don't think so, right? Do we swing with Elise? I don't think so. It should be kind of hard for him to kill this Elise. Okay. One more thing that can block Fearsome Gun. Mm-hmm. What you got? Not a lot that would be actually scary.
I have my
I'm gonna play that. Now, it is kind of a shame to play Skitter on this turn, but the idea here is to, I assume he's got another one, so he's gonna play another one. Okay. Yeah, man, I'll take the 5. I get a level up Elise out of this.
Let me change into something more comfortable.
Okay, I mean, that's pretty sweet.
They'll never see it coming.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
Can I paint you?
Alright. Well, he's in bad shape is what he's in. I mean, we actually have lethal here, potentially. Maybe I should go for Fervor here, but the thing is these spiders are worth more. So if he has the healing, neither of these will be lethal. Okay, well that would have gotten us around, or that would have gotten around any removal. And the beautiful thing is, because we chose House Spider, is he just gave us more spiders. Yeah. Sweet. We like that. Alright. Perfect. Clean, easy win. It's actually surprising just how often we're seeing leveled up Elise. So yeah, the Spider focus is pretty strong. On to the next. Okay, LeBlanc Ezreal. Haven't seen this in many moons. That's a neat little deck. It can be pretty fun. I'll keep Sentry because it's good against LeBlanc. Decimate's a terrible thing to keep in my opener. Elise isn't necessarily strong because they can thermo. And that would be pretty unfortunate for me. That is a very unfortunate curve. Let's see if he has the thermo. I mean, if he has thermogenic, you should use that in this situation 100% of the time. Because this is the mono Elise aggro deck, so there really isn't going to be a better threat for thermogenic than Elise on turn 2.
Sharpen the blades, secure the kill.
Okay. That's fine. Let's see what he plays. If he plays anything else, we can Sentry tap that,
I hate having
which is pretty sweet when we think about it.
such pretty poison. Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, I can take that hit. We're an aggro deck. We're looking to be fast. I think we do want to play this. The unfortunate thing with playing this is that it gives him the opportunity to play something else that can block Elise. So just open swinging is great because he's probably going to trade with this Elise, but that means he's trading away LeBlanc, which is about as good a thing as we could have happen. Okay. Interesting. Do I play this? That's the question.
Okay, ready.
So we go like this. He eats a spider, kills this. Or he eats a spider, trades with this. Then he takes 4. I mean, that's a fair amount of damage. But is it better off to... I mean, that doesn't get us a leveled up Elise, so I think it's probably better off to do this.
For the Empire.
We know the Elise is basically dead anyways, so we might as well do this. The downside here, obviously, is if he Mystic Shots the Elise
For the
now.
glory of Noxus.
Oh, or Thermo. Thermo works too, yep. It's still not that big of a deal. He invested all those resources into it. Blocking either of these two will kill his unit as well, so that's reasonably strong for us. Oh, because he's thinking he's willing to take 1 extra point of damage to get rid of a blocker. Oh, you're nuts to block the Spiderling. That'd be crazy. Yeah, that's probably the smartest play. Alright, and then we bank Stalking Shadows, which is not too bad.
Darling, you are dressed to kill.
Is it really so obvious?
Let's see what we can find here. I mean, Skitterer's probably our best card here. We were hoping for Doombeast, because if we found Doombeast, we could actually decimate, then decimate Doombeast to, like, kill our opponent.
For glory.
Free blocker here. That's why we went for the ephemeral one.
You are mine.
Okay.
My move.
So, round start on Elise. So, this won't actually level up our Elise. Unfortunately. Now, that's still enough damage to level up his LeBlanc, so that's really unfortunate for us, but...
Remember me. The Black Rose.
The bright side is we actually didn't get him any reputation off that. And now his big challenge stick is gone, at least.
I know what lurks in the shadows.
But we're not in a terribly great spot to do much next turn. Especially when he's killing all of our spiders, so this Frenzied Skitterer is worth a lot less. Okay. Yeah, I think I'd rather play this before swinging. In theory, maximizes damage. But he can still, like, block here, and only take 3. And then I'm down to almost no blockers myself. Or he can just start killing stuff, too. That's also a possibility. Okay.
Everything's in place. Behind ya.
Delicate.
Yeah, I mean, if he blocks that, it dies. Wow, he's... Ooh. I realize he doesn't want to lose this LeBlanc, but you have to take the risk there. You can't let a deck like mine just get the free hit in. Although, Ezreal is almost leveled up, and probably will level up this turn, so...
Victory requires a sharp blade.
Well, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be real close. It's gonna be real close.
I'll cut them apart. Face me.
Okay, that's fine.
For glory. You're mine.
Okay, soak up all the damage. And the next turn I'll have 8+1, which is enough to cast both and win. Okay. He shouldn't be incredibly likely to kill me, but it's not impossible.
Firing.
Because his Ezreal is leveled up, but he's at 3 and I'm at 16. So this Decimate is lethal. Oh yeah, no, that's just game. There's no way he can kill me from that health point. Woo! Again, the big problem with any Noxus Ezreal deck is the fact that it doesn't have life gain. So for a very control-oriented shell, although LeBlanc one tends to be a bit more on the aggressive side, but it's still ultimately kind of a control-y combo deck, so not having life gain really puts it up against the wall against aggro decks like Spider Aggro. So yeah, definitely pretty good for us, and we will absolutely take that on to the next. Okay. Zoe Soul again, but this time with Demacia, so this is going to be much more mid-range focus, and actually should probably be a much worse matchup for us, especially when we're attacking on turn 2 and turn 4. Yeah, Elise turn 2 is actually substantially better for us. Okay, nothing to block this turn. Nothing to block this turn, that's all we want.
In the shadows.
Ugh. Okay, well... he doesn't have a challenger yet. So we can't level her up this turn anymore. We could if we had been able to swing for free.
And here's where I'd paint my constellation.
Okay. Well, we're banking mana, I guess. Not really what we wanted, but... okay. Does he have a Pale Cascade to go with it? No? Yeah, we'll take the 3. Now, the problem is, it's going into turn 4, and my opponent's at 20 health, and I'm at 17, which is definitely not ideal. Well, he doesn't behold a dragon. Is he willing to trade with that? We're probably playing too cautiously here. Like, we should just be going aggro rather than trying to level this Elise up. That's kind of my mistake here. Especially since he's going into turn 5 now. But he hasn't found a dragon yet. That's good knowledge for us because both of these have come down without challenger, which is pretty devastating because this is really only good as long as it has challenger. He did take the damage. He probably should have taken the damage, so I mean, reasonable. Ooh, I like that.
Gravity? Which side was upside again?
I could play this Frenzied Skitterer. Actually, you know what? Is it better just running out the Fearsome? The higher powered Fearsome spiders? Oh, maybe it would have been better to play House Spider because then I could have traded with one of these.
Prepare for battle.
Yeah, reduce the damage we take. That spider's mincemeat anyways. Now, he could have a number of ways to kill our Elise, I suppose. That's the downside now. Is that he could have Concerted Strike. We are just going to Goldfish our hand, though. Because even with this happening right here, it's still better to play all these spiders and then just Frenzied Skitterer for a ton of damage. Potentially a ton of damage. Okay. No Equinox, no Crescent Strike. That's what we're hoping for. This game's going really poorly for us, but it can still go well from here is the crazy part. Yep, swing like that.
Hold still.
So currently he can trade with 2 things, which still leaves us 4 spiders, which means we can slap and level in Elise, in theory. Okay. So he blocks another one. And doesn't lose his Dragon Guard. Okay. But again, still only kills 2.
Here they come.
And we drop him to 9, which is not bad. Not great, but not bad. Zoe's still a fair bit off from leveling, which is good because Zoe giving everything lifesteal would be devastating. Okay. So he takes less damage, but it's still the same thing. We still have 4. He still loses that. He still loses that. He doesn't lose this, but that's fine.
Come closer. I don't bite.
And now she levels up. This is going pretty bad for us, to be fair. It is actually going fairly bad for us, but it could be worse. Okay, hit that.
If they don't break,
Give us a blocker for this mountain goat.
you for the men. Ship time.
Okay. It's not even gonna go for it. Okay. Another charger. He still hasn't found life gain, though. Okay, so you hold this. You hold this. You hold that. That.
Get their
That.
foundations.
That. In theory, drops him to 2. If he blocks this, it drops him to 4 and decimates lethal. And he loses the board. I mean, like, this deck's definitely running Star Shaping, so he's got plenty of ways to heal. It would not shock me if he's running Judgment. And that obviously would be, like, game over for us right now, because Judgment on this just kills everything. Okay, so he's going to trade with Elise. But then he loses his Zoe that's almost leveled up, so, I mean, that's pretty sweet. And he still takes 5 down to 6, so he's pretty close to dead. And he's down to only 2 cards in hand. And again, no Zoe. 1 card's a mountain goat, so that's sweet. So we'll decimate here. Drop him to 2. And I guess we just stalking shadows, see what we find. Because we can hit Doombeast here and just win. Okay, yeah. Not bad. That's 5 in a row, all wins. And I think we can count that because those are 2 very different Zoe Soul decks. Since the one had more of a dragon focus, though obviously they didn't find their dragons, and it had a better removal package, which is actually wild because that's what should be better about the Shadow Isles variant. Not bad though. 5 wins in a row. We'll absolutely take that. That's the 2nd time in On the Grind history, so not bad. Alright, so how do we do in our matches? Well, not that many games played again. 7 games, more than last week, but not where I'd like to be for one of these. I'd like to have more games played and ranked on this season than that, or on this patch than that. But not going to happen this week. Not going to happen next week either, because I do just want to say right now that I'm not going to be doing an episode next week. I'm going to be taking the week off. So there won't be a meta check. There won't be on the grind. I might not do meta check the next week either. We'll see. There's going to be Sunday highlights this weekend, so that's going to be the last one I do before I take that week break. But I just want to kind of refresh, come back with a fresh look, and hopefully make some better videos. But how did we do with the 7 we played? Welp, we won them. Every single one of them. 7 straight. 3 different nights. We crushed it. Absolutely slaughtered. Haven't lost a game yet. It's coming. I know it is. I've had a lot of close ones. Had a lot of nail biters, especially the first one, which is going to be in Sunday's highlights. Not a part of this video because it was Draven Ezreal was the first game I played against, and LeBlanc Ezreal's pretty similar. And I just wanted to keep that 5-game stretch The other deck that wasn't included in the video, or the other game not included in the video, was Nasus Fling. It was Mono Nasus, which is going to be a much better matchup. And in fact, it might have been more combo-oriented. Hard to say from what we saw. We didn't see the Ravenous Butcher or the Bark Beast, but we also didn't see a Withering Wail. And that probably means that they went more combo than control, and that's a terrible idea when Spider Aggro is still out. So, is as prevalent as it is, or as good as it is right now, because Spider Aggro gets absolutely destroyed and demolished by Withering Wail, much like Discard Aggro does. So, I don't think they were running it, or they just got unlucky and didn't find it. In fact, I don't think they found any life gain. They only lived through one thing, because instead of Vile Feasting like I expected them to, they Black Speared to kill my creature, so I couldn't get the Demolitionist trigger, and then they just died to Doom Beast anyways. But, yeah, absolute demolition. Spider Aggro is crazy fast aggro deck, deals a ton of damage. It's very hard for your opponent to block thanks to Skitterer, and Skitterer can make for some pretty crazy turns. We leveled up Elise in, what, 2 out of those 5 games, I think, at least? So, leveling up Elise is actually fairly easy to do, and when you do that, then it becomes really hard for them to stop you from just rolling over them. And then you have Doom Beast in there as well to just gain life back up yourself, so it does break the symmetry with the aggro deck, so that also is really, really good. It's just a super well-rounded deck with a lot of good things going for it, the biggest weakness being the low health, because Spiderlings are easy to kill, Precious Pet's easy to kill, and that just kind of sets you up to get those crazy blowout turns that just wipe everything off the board for you. Now, the bright side over Discard Aggro is that some of our best units are like Frenzied Skitterer, Elise, and the 3/2 Spider, which all have at least 2 or more health, so they do hold up decently well against other stuff. Obviously, the worst matchup we could run into is probably Trundle Lysandra, because they have Avalanche and Withering Wail, all of which are super brutal for spiders, so Avalanche especially, so, you know, there's definitely some bad matchups out there. They're just pretty unpopular right now, so it's definitely a good time to be playing Spider Aggro. I expect that to change as more people play this deck, that you're going to start seeing the hard counter strategies, and then you might have to start differentiating. Aggro will still probably be the right play, but you might want to start... That's usually how things happen, is like Discard Aggro or Spider Aggro takes over for a while, and then people start trying to hard counter it, which means things like Withering Wail and things like that, and then that pushes the aggro players to more robust or durable aggro decks, like, say, always the Decisive Aggro is really good into that kind of meta, because their units are really sticky and hard to remove and deal a ton of damage through blockers, so you can run people down fairly quickly. So that's usually something that starts to see more of a reappearance when decks start hard countering the super greedy aggro decks. But right now, Spider Aggro is just good. It's been around for forever. I've done similar... I've played this deck many times in the past. I did a kind of half deck guide on it not that long ago. I think that was the Miss Wraiths version, if I remember, but it's been around for a long time. It's just good fearsome threats, and nice little Elise synergy in there. And I mean, Elise is already a really great 2-drop Frenny aggro deck. Like, even if you're not leveling her up, it doesn't matter. It's a 2 power fearsome unit on turn 2 that is very hard to remove because of that 3 health. So it's just super... It's just a super good deck. It's fun if you like aggro. You're going to have some fast games, and you're going to have some real nail-biters that you pull out of nowhere. I mean, Stalking Shadow plus Doom Beast is a pretty brutal combo, so that can burn your opponent out very quickly. So, just all in all, really well-rounded aggro deck that's very fun and definitely good to take to the ladder right now. So if you're looking for something, there you go. I'm probably going to play more of it myself, even though I'm taking the week off next week. I'm probably going to be playing some Spider Aggro, trying to get to Masters before the end of the season. So waiting until the last minute to try and get that last little bit there, but, you know, we'll get there. And I'll probably play a fair bit of Spider Aggro, especially after its 7-0 start right now. So definitely a good spot. Highly recommend it. Second 5-0 in On the Grind history, and that is pretty sweet. And in fact, it was a 7-0, so that's insane. I think that's the longest run of recorded videos I've had. So awesome. So, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe for more Legends of Runeterra content. But not next week.